Dude, listen. So let's start off with like where exactly are you from and
Hmm.
how you became a car designer.
Okay, that's a long story. So
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
wherever, go, start.
okay. So yeah, so I started from India. I'm an Indian basically. I come from India, and how my journey started was like I was an engineer. I was a chemical engineer, and when was in my last year, I had a conversation with my friends, and I was always into sketching and art and painting and things like that, like something which is not related to engineering. So they suggested me that why don't I go for design, and for me that was a completely a new concept because I mean totally an engineering background, and I was not aware of these things. I mean, for me, products are designed by the engineers themselves, and then you see it. But when I heard about it, I did a little bit of digging, and how it was introduced was, you're good at sketching. Why don't you try design? I said, okay, let's see what it is exactly. And then I went for like some digging, and then I got to know that there are some institutes at that time, because I think that was year 2010. So I think at that time there were not many institutes who were providing design education, and
In
there were
in
only
India, are you
in
talking?
India.
Okay, and
Yeah.
sorry, where in India are you from?
I'm from the central India. It's called MP, like that's the short form. It's a typical name. It's called the Madhya Pradesh. It's like
Okay.
yeah. So I come from central India basically, and yeah. So then I got to know that there are a few colleges where I can go and do that. For that, I have to crack an exam, and I tried like giving that exam for the first time, and I didn't qualify. Then I finished my engineering, and I said, okay, let's give it proper time and then do this. I gave the exam, I qualified it. Then I came to IIT Delhi. That's the one of the best institutes for engineering, and they also have a design department. So I did my master's in industrial design from IIT Delhi, and after finishing that, because it was industrial design. Yep. So it was industrial design. So it was not basically like specialized in any sector. So, and I said that no, maybe I want more in transportation design. And then I looked for some other options, like how can I pursue that? Is there something like transportation design specifically? And one of my professor told me that okay, there are schools. It's been going on for long outside, and you can look for it, and you can actually pursue it, you can study it. Then I came to SPD Milan. Then I did my masters in car design again. So yeah, I mean, I came to SPD, and I wanted to have like immediate masters, but then I had to go for this 1 year course, which is like a prelim kind of course, which qualifies you to the masters. Then I did my masters, and that's how the education like translated to what I am right now.
So, Ankur, did you know you didn't know of like Pratap, for example?
Pratap, Mr. Bose, yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
was actually seeing him. I was following him for quite a long time, and him, and there were a few other designers whom I was following. But there was a lot of digging which was not done from my side, and I just took things like, okay, these are the things, and maybe engineers design it. And for automotive design, it was completely a new concept for me when I got to know that okay, there is study for that. you know it's not something related to art. Yeah, I would say I had a very engineering directed mindset, so I was like thinking more in that direction. And yeah, then eventually also at that time I don't think that there were a lot of resources to help you to to know about these fields and everything, though there were a lot of things happening outside India. So it came to me a little slowly.
Did you find? But when did you find out about Pratap? For example, was it around like 2010 when you were starting to research?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I got to know that, okay, there are people who are already established in this field, and they're not, they are designers, they are designing cars, and these are the things that actually go for a process. It's a process. So I was completely new to this, and I was because before I started my studies, I somehow, in back of my mind, I wanted to be a concept artist. That was another part of my journey, because a lot of things were happening when I was doing my engineering. Basically, I was not focusing on my engineering, but everything apart from that, which was related to creative side of me. So I was trying to look for like animation studies. I was trying to also look for concept art. I remember at that time I just knew one college, which was FZD. It was Feng Shui School of Design, and it required a lot of skills, and obviously I didn't have that. So I was learning, and then I got to know, okay, no, it's let's break it down. Let's decide what I want to do. What I like. I like cars. I like sketching, and I have problem with everything, whatever I see. So design, because um, that's the field where you can criticize and you can actually do something about it. So I feel that's how it the built up was like that. This was the story.
Uncle, can I just ask, like, with regards to you having this chemical engineering path, was this something that was very much pushed by your parents, encouraged to do something that they could see a more logical career path out of?
I would say that it was completely my pick, because my parents, like, no one is an engineer. My dad come from a medical field. My mother is a housemaker, so even they didn't have any clue like what I'm doing. But I just wanted to uh, do something which interests me. So which was like a course of interest for me. When I started, I was too much into chemistry. I used to love reading chemistry, and that's the reason why I went for this chemical engineering. And then I realized that, okay, this is something which I like, but I cannot pursue that as a career, because somehow it's inclined to some other direction. Because I was at that time, like I said, that I was also looking for concept art, and I was looking for different creative fields. And then I realized that no, it's better that I focus on what I like rather than what interests me. So then I had to take a turn. And my parents were like a bit confused, and like as parent, I understand their concern that we don't know exactly what you're doing, and we are supporting you, but yeah, don't make us regret. Do something meaningful. Yeah.
Um, at when you started your industrial design course, were you trying to do automotive projects on that?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Yeah.
That started from the first day, because we had like a induction, and then everyone asked like, okay, what is your interest and what would you like to do? And the first thing which I said was, look, let's do a car. And they said, no, it doesn't work like that. Let's see, we'll see. And then we had a lot of workshops. So the good thing was, when we started there, they had multiple workshops, because they knew that we don't know a lot about the fields and what we basically want. So there are a lot of workshops in which we had to pick the favorite project or favorite direction we want to proceed. And once you are through, then you can yourself tell that, okay, I like this one more, or maybe I like products more, because it was a very open thing. They didn't force us to like, okay, start studying this, because you have to study industrial design as a whole. So for me, in my industrial design, for 2 years I was doing multiple transportation design projects.
And what, were there any other people on the course doing the same thing, or were you the only car nut there drawing cars on your own?
Now they were a lot. There were a lot actually, but then with time, like a lot of them, they realized that okay, maybe this is not something that interests them. I mean, when as a student we started, it was funny that a lot of people thought that sketching, if you're good at sketching, you can be a car designer. But then eventually they realized that okay, you can sketch well, but maybe that's not what they want to do. And then they shifted to maybe product, like they like product more, so they went for product. Some people went for UI UX. So it was kind of, you know, it branched out. It started with one batch of students, and then everyone took their own path, and now they're kind of doing their own thing.
And then you, after that, you obviously went to SPD. Can I ask, like, what made you choose that course?
SPD, yeah. So first thing which clicked me was it's Italy, obviously. In Europe, if you talk about car design, I think you can think about only few countries, which, like for example, Germany, for example, Italy. And I also got a little bit of backstory from one of my professor. He was a graduate. He was a master's, or I think also PhD from RCA. And he introduced me this. He told me that okay, there are courses and there are few countries where you can go, and you can actually learn a lot of things. And the country also has an influence on design, on your studies. Like wherever you go for studies, I think it's also important for which country you're opting. Depending, like for example, you come for design. I think in Europe you have really really good colleges, not only in Italy but in general. Like for example, Forzyme, Umea. There are a lot of good colleges. So I think the country also kind of pushes you. And for Italy, I always had a like little bit of inclination because I knew the culture. And for me, Italy is like okay, place of design, Michelangelo, and yeah,
Ferrari, Lamborghini.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And SPD specifically, how did you end up there?
With SPD, because I did some digging about the colleges, like which college I should go for and how to select basically. Because I'm complete beginner coming from India. I don't know people who studied here. Usually you call the students and you ask them that how's the college or how the teaching is and how's the placements, which usually students are worried about. So, and as a beginner, like, and I had already finished my master's, so this was something which I wanted to overdo, you know. So, and yeah, after industrial design I already had a job which I rejected. I said no, no, I don't want to do the job, I want to study more. So that was also like a thing that okay, you rejected the job, you said no to the job, so make sure you do something good. And not earning money, but you're planning to spend more on this. So then I got to know about SPD. At that time I was looking for colleges near Milan, uh, thinking that that's the cultural center of Italy. So I got to know about other colleges also, but then I got to know that in, if you talk about campus, if you talk about jobs, which is one of the factors which a lot of students consider now, I think I got to know that okay, this is completely a skill based thing. You cannot guarantee, the companies cannot come and take you just because you're studying in this college, or neither it's college responsibility, the institute's responsibility to get you hired. It's
And you
completely
realized that already at that point, like
yeah,
it's a
because
skill
I was
based thing. Yeah.
yeah. So because I was getting to know that a lot of people who studied there, I looked at their profile and how they are working. So I got to know, I understood that this is completely your thing. You cannot blame it on anyone else. It's ultimately it's a portfolio, your resume, a cover letter that's going to help you. That's it. So, uh, but what was impressive for me in SPD was the faculty. I got to know about Michele.
Fuck,
So
dude, it's
and
insane.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. So and there was Michele and there were other uh, like really good, really talented and experienced faculty members. So I yeah, I got to know about them. Then I was like, okay, if you know, if I get to learn with them, like if they're teaching me, if I'm under their guidance, maybe I can learn something. And teaching is something which you can guarantee. You know, you can see the teachers and you can say, okay, I will learn something from them at least. But if you focus on like the job and placement and things and how much money you earn, I don't think that's a wise decision, or that's a wise uh, factor to consider while you're picking college outside or wherever you are.
But the thing is, people often get. I mean, a lot of young people get caught in that trap at the end of the day, don't they? They want to know like what companies am I going to work for afterwards, and
Yeah,
how much money am I going to earn? But they completely overlook the fact that it is so. I mean, it especially when you're starting out. It's like it is 80% skills based. I mean, that's what's going to get you your. That's what's going to get attention
yeah,
at the end of the day.
yeah,
So I think that was pretty awesome that you were able to pick that up so early on, that you worked that out, because it sounds completely obvious, but I mean it wasn't obvious. I mean, okay, I'm probably not the best example, but it wasn't obvious to me. For example, I was just like, well, I'm going to go to this university because it's got this great heritage and this great history, and and they've got all these great graduates that have gone on to do these wonderful things. So, chances are I'm going to end up doing the same. Um, but it wasn't necessarily that obvious as to what we should really be focusing on. You sometimes find yourself jumping through hoops to make sort of academic milestones, to reach those milestones in order to get like a fancy degree, like a 2-1 or a first or whatever the case is.
yeah.
So, yeah,
No,
that
that's
was a
the thing,
long.
because even in my industrial design, like when we finished, we had the degree show. Obviously, we had to show our work, and that time also I realized like that was also one of the incident that made my eyes open. Like you cannot. This is a completely different thing. You know, this is not what you can prove. You cannot write it in a paper and say that okay, I'm a certified designer, hire me, and that doesn't work. You always have to give them a vision. You have to tell them, okay, trust me because I can do this, and you have to give them an idea about yourself, and that's uh, and you can do it with your portfolio, with your cover letter, maybe with, if you have a chance, you talk to them, um, you give an interview. I think that's the only thing that you can do. Apart from that, no one else can help you for any sort of job, even for internships. Nothing. It's only you. That's what I
And dude,
realized.
and that's the thing. Like we are visual people. The people that are hiring us are visual people. So you better make sure that first and foremost, before you get the chance to get an interview, that your visuals are amazing. And in order to do that, you've got to get your skills there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And uh, frankly speaking, you know, when you have this thing in your mind running, that even if you get an admission, and a lot of people sometimes they have this thing in the back of their mind that when I'm finishing it, maybe I get a job, how much I will earn, this much I have spent. Uh, I at that time I knew few people. They were just calculating every month that okay, I've spent this much. At the end of
What?
at the end of the year, I should at least get this. So you know that's just adding pressure to yourself. And for like we are creative people. I think we need to be happy first of all and satisfied. You know, because satisfaction has no limit. You cannot be satisfied by having a Ferrari, or you can be satisfied with a bike. So that's important for me. That's my opinion, I would say. And that keeps you motivated also in the design field. it's a challenging field, I would say. Like people, when they come for this field, they feel that okay, it's about sketching, rendering whatever you see, like the flashy image. But it's a lot more than that. You have to show your metal, because it's not like 2 plus 2 equals to 4. I did it, so I'm good. No, here maybe 2 plus 2 is not equals to 4. It depends. It's your perception. Design is perception.
Ankur, you've developed a very distinctive style, and it's very original. I mean, I'm talking specifically about your marker sketches. Like, when did this happen, and how did was it, and how did it happen?
It's I actually it's a funny story. I actually never told it to anyone, but I think one of my friend knows it. So he was asking me the same thing, that why you are doing these markers. These looks like little different. Like it's not very don't see it quite often. So what happened was, when I was in my in my college, in my masters in SPD, I bought series of markers. Like I don't know, 3-4 pack of markers with lot of ink. And then when I was in this process of making portfolio, and when I was finalizing, there were a lot of like time I spent in clay modeling with my friends, and there was not actually a lot of time to sketch. And then I realized that time has passed. Then I got the job. I came here, and when you're working somewhere, you are actually not working a lot at, with your own stationery. You are just working in the studio most of the time. And one day I realized that okay, let's do markers, and I realized all my markers are dead, and and I just had one marker with me. And that day somehow I felt like okay, no, I feel like doing markers, and I I just said, okay, let's do it. What I mean, you won't lose anything. You'll just lose a paper. So I took out a black marker. I started rendering, and if you see my first marker sketch, which I did like that, the marker was also dead. It was kind of struggling, and I could hear the this screeching in my
Squeaking.
ears, like, and so, and when I did it, I felt that okay, maybe if I had more markers, I would be more conscious. Like, okay, this is this thing, and I have to make it pretty. I have to make it perfect. But since this marker was dying, I didn't had enough time, and I just wanted to sketch, so I started sketching, and that came out to be more, more. It was more fun for me. I would say it was more emotional, because I was not thinking much about the the output, but I was just enjoying it. Then I started doing it, and since then I if I have to do markers, I don't sketch. I just take a marker and I start sketching, and I think that's also a little bit of a practice which graffiti artists do. So they just take a, like most of the time, I mean, they have a stencil obviously, but just take something and start sketching. And trust me, nothing goes wrong. It's a fun exercise, I would say. It uh, Most of the people, sometimes when I talk to them about markers, a lot of them, they are scared. Few of them, they are scared about the bleeding. Few of them, they are scared that maybe it goes wrong and they don't have chance to undo it. And I said, yeah, but that's the best part. It bleeds, so it's natural, and you don't have an undo. So whatever you're doing is, it's once done and it's fixed there. You don't change it. So I think that makes it more different, I would say.
That one that you're talking about now, that black one, did it come out in the style that you're doing now? Because it's still not. I know that you are doing the whole thing with one marker, but you've done it in a way that it's like a tape drawing. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not your. It's not your typical marker drawing in the sense that
Yeah.
there's this gradient. But I guess you were kind of forced to try something different because it was black as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So it's. I mean, I can say it's my personal opinion. Maybe a lot of people won't agree with that, but I think sketching is just a representation of something which you're imagining. For that, you just need two colors, black and white. And white is not even a color, something which is not like if you have black and white and you are not painting anything with black, that's white. So it's a very economical way of sketching, but it's yet very effective because in that you can actually distinguish the surfaces. You know, you have something which is very hard, something which is very soft, and you have just a transition between that. So, and for me, markers are also like a lot of times, like people get confused that uh, markers are for they color it, and for me, that's not my personal style. I would say I like to do more of highlighting. You have to emphasize the volume, you have to emphasize the shape, dimensions, and maybe line weight. That's it. But when you start using the markers as colors, I think then it becomes like more like a painting, and that's what I don't like prefer to do. That's only with minimal uh, strokes. Also.
But also like your the way that like your wheels as well. Like quite often you'll do like a 4-spoke or just a representation. But sometimes it's even like I've seen you do like 2 spokes as well.
Yep.
And there's like still a real stance to it, a character. I mean, is that also something that's evolved over time, or did it come out like that in the beginning?
It actually, I used to do a lot of wheels before because for me wheels are very important. It's like the shoes. You know, you can judge a person with the kind of shoes they are wearing. That in on a funny side, but I feel that for wheels I used to do lot of variations before, but then I realized that it's also adding a lot of story to the vehicle. Like for example, if you're doing an SUV and you just make a 3-spoke, so that defines like what kind of SUV it is. For me, it will be more like more like a travel buggy or something. But when you make 5-spoke or 7 spokes, it starts adding more and more volume to the wheel. That shows that the vehicle is more for off-roading or for something which is not street legal, I would say. But when you start minimizing the spoke, like for example, there are 3 spokes or there are 4 spokes, that goes more into the family friendly direction. So the vehicle goes more into family friendly direction. But when you increase it, it goes in different directions. So, and then I started experimenting. So I try to experiment with a lot of different shapes of spokes and different kind of structure for the wheel itself.
But also, there's like a these it's also it's unorthodox, not just in the actual spokes as well, but like this kind of this quite often this flat bottom, and I wonder if you ever got down the rabbit hole of trying to draw the perfect ellipse.
No, this.
Well, I wish that I honestly I'm so frustrated at myself at times. Like, you know, I'm the most fucking rebellious person on the planet. I never listened in school. I basically scraped through high school, and then all of a sudden got to like decided I wanted to study car design. And I basically listened to fucking everything that those people told me. And I didn't rebel at all, just purely based on the fact that I thought, okay, these guys know this shit. I'm not going to challenge anything. And that was one of the biggest mistakes from my point of view. And I remember watching the like Scott. Do you know Scott Robertson?
Scott Robertson, yeah.
So all those Noman guys, Scott Robertson, Harold Belker,
Yeah.
and there was another guy as well. I think Ryan Church, I think it was his name.
Yeah.
And they one of them was saying that they basically had this. They used to have challenges with their colleagues to like. Draw the perfect ellipse at the right angle and do like an evolution of all of them. And honestly, like that's fucking impressive. But I have to say that crippled me in terms of, just I got to a point where I was like, fuck, I can never do this. You know, it's just, and I wasted so much time focusing on stuff like that, which is so, in hindsight unimportant. So it's really cool that you had the insight not to listen to that shit.
Yeah, I mean the wheels. The wheels are something that even I cannot do it perfectly. There is always a little bit of uh, like correction that you need, and you just accept it. Okay, I'm not making the perfect wheels, but I'll make the cool wheels. So that's it. And talking about Mr. Harold Belker, I think yeah, I sent him my portfolio once for this for review, and I think that was after industrial design. And he said, I think he mentioned something about the wheels also. He also said something. It was like a one line comment. He said, "Nice work, good wheels." I think he said something, and that
Really?
yeah, and that was like, okay, that's good. That's good. So my wheels are good. That's what I know. Maybe the car is not
Okay.
that perfect, but yeah, the wheels are good. The wheels look okay. So yeah, I'm following him from I don't know, since my school days.
Well, those guys are amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
they're kind of in. I mean, they in hindsight now they're not. They're more on the concept art side of things. I mean, they do vehicles, of course,
Yeah.
but they are more concept artists. But very, very impressive. I mean, the perfect sections that those guys are able
Yeah.
to do. It's basically like how the Italians were making their bucks back in the day. To form their sheet metal
Yeah.
over. With all these sections like down the X and Y. Amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really amazing.
I mean, how they know it so perfectly is because I think a lot of them, like if we look at the past, I think a lot of designers whom we like aspire to be, like whom we idolize, were basically coach builders, and then they developed this further and further. They were not like, okay, we did the studies and we are doing the design. So I think they learned it with time and they worked on it. Like a lot of them, they were working on their working as mechanics, like technicians. So they know they developed it with time. Now we are lucky that we have a lot of resources, we have books, we have teachers, we have mentors, we have everything that can reduce the time span of this experience and just give it to us, and then we just proceed with that.
I I think I tend to agree, and I think that it's a brilliant time that we are going through now, especially given how much information there is. I think the downside to that is, of course, is that sometimes you can either get lost in this process, or because there's so much information available, but you can also kind of become I mean, back to the point of the wheels thing as earlier, like there's this clearer path and the structure now to how to become a designer, and it's like you need to learn your 3-point perspective and your vanishing points and ellipses and all that sort of stuff. And if you're not careful, if you're unaware of it, you can get caught with focusing on trying to do these things perfectly, and maybe not really focusing on the things that are the bigger picture, the things that are really important.
Exactly. Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens a lot because um, I have seen this with myself also, that when you start sketching, you take, first of all, you go to social media, you start following a lot of people who sketch, who render good, and then you try to follow them in a way that you want to be like them. That's a good thing, but sometimes following too close, it's like, a car is going and you're following it, and you don't have to go too close if you want to win. You have to be a little far and see where they are going, and then you can make your own path. That's how I feel. So if you want to win the race, you don't have to be like dragging the car next to in front of you. And that's what is also confusing, because then they start following them without knowing like what process they follow, and then they get lost. And also with the books, sometimes they're too focused on the rules and the guidelines, and you have to do it like this and you have to do it like that. So I think that also affects sometimes. It doesn't let you, think of your own ways of doing it. So I think there should be a little bit of flexibility, in my opinion, because I cannot make a perfect ellipse till now. And I tried a lot of tutorials. I tried with a lot of classes, but it never helped me. So, but yeah, there are ways which might not look normal, like you have to just turn around and you have to put your finger and then you do it in a different way. You can do it like that. So that's a stupid way of doing it, but that's my way. So I kind of invented it for myself. So yeah, that's completely correct. I totally agree with you that sometimes it's too uh, I won't say peer pressure, but there's a way that you have to follow. And okay, follow it, but don't restrict yourself from doing other things to experiment.
It's also important to remember that, like, sketching, for example, it's a means to an end. It's the fastest way you can translate an idea from what's inside your head onto a piece of paper, or to and or communicate that to anybody for that matter.
Yeah.
So it's natural that if you are, for example, communicating an idea to somebody that's maybe building something for you, or if you want somebody to buy into your idea, it's natural that you need to be pretty good at it. And therefore you can understand, like, it is important to spend time getting things right, getting nowadays I think people are a lot more open-minded, and I have to say that's been one of the positive things about, I feel, Instagram, is in terms of being able to see just how many different styles there are, and how many people break the traditional rules, because we still see, I was talking to somebody about this today, and somebody was like attacking one of Art's sketches that I posted, and it was all about, like, yeah, the roof's too low and how many people can you get in there and this, that, and all the rest. And I was like, you don't understand, this is not a fucking a draft.
Yeah.
This is a sketch to communicate a theme, to communicate an idea, but you can't tell that to an engineer that wants hardcore facts. And so, I think it's important it's important to know that these things can be broken, that these rules are there to be broken. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot to be said for the ability to translate an idea into 3D, for example, because ultimately that's where we're going, right? You're selling a form. And even if you aren't doing it yourself, it's arguably more important that you really get your shit together when you want somebody else to build it, because you have to articulate and communicate how we are going to translate this idea, which is on a flat piece of paper, into a 3-dimensional volume.
Yeah. No, that's true. I also face a lot of criticism that once I posted a bike design, like a bike sketch. It was just a random sketch, and I didn't give it like a good thought that they are critiques, and I got bummed with a lot of messages that, okay, where's the handle? I said, yeah, that's true. There's no handle. Where's the suspension? That's true. So it's always like this. People are there to, like, some people, they are very good critique, I would say. They pinpoint each and everything that you might have not noticed, or you might have not put it like intentionally also. So it's quite funny, and especially on Instagram, it can be a catastrophe. You're just presenting yourself to everyone. I'm the dartboard, hit me. And then they won't spare you. They're not going to have a loose shot. So
How do you deal with that? Do you ever tell people to fuck off?
yeah, I try to be like, sometimes I try to be like very humble, like, okay, maybe I agree with this, or maybe you agree with this, but we are on different page. Let's not. I mean, I don't want to indulge in this conversation anymore. It happens a lot. There are a lot of people who just message you like randomly. Okay, where do you work? It's in my bio. uh, what do you do? And I get a lot of bizarre questions, like even from students, and like, how much do you earn? That's I think everyone.
Is that what they do?
You get a lot of
Jesus
you get
Christ,
you get a lot of
really?
questions. You get a lot of questions, and not in a very polite way, I would say. Like, how much you earn? I said, uh, I earn enough to get my bread and butter, enough to have a phone where I can record my sketching and use Instagram. So I'm okay. I'm happy. Thanks for the help. So I mean, how to answer these questions, and then there are questions which are genuinely like out of curiosity, but I think it's you have to put a little bit of research, which I did. That's why I tell it to everyone that when you want to do something, like there are a lot of people who want to learn car design, who want to be designers, but and they just, because Instagram and social media is there, you don't have to go for any capture, to tell that, okay, you know a little bit of it. So you have the possibility of just dropping a message to anyone, like you can send it to Matya.
Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Okay, not anymore, but he's not. Yeah, because he's
yeah,
been banned. But
yeah. You can send it to Scott Robertson. Yeah, can you please tell me the name of your book? Okay, you don't ask these questions. Do a bit of digging. If you don't know anything, just go to internet. There are a lot of resources, and I cannot believe that a lot of people, they still have questions which are not questions anymore, frankly speaking. So yeah, Instagram can be a little difficult to handle sometimes.
people are fucking lazy though as well. They just like
Yeah,
it's like nobody wants to read anything.
yeah,
Nobody takes the time to read anything, and but I also think there's a lot of lonely fucking people there as well. I just want to tell everybody right now, if anybody sends me a fucking message with hello, I'm not even fucking saying anything. Like, what is it that we get a lot of messages like hello. It's like, dude, listen, I've got a lot of shit going on. I've got a family as well. I don't have time here to chat. You know,
yeah,
it's not like, I mean, if you've got a specific question, ask me the question. And if it's polite, I will do my best to respond.
yeah.
But, I'm not a fucking chatbot, you know?
That, yeah, like today I got a message that, hey, first of all, that's not. I mean, I don't even know you.
No,
Hey,
no. Yeah, that's like,
so
hey.
so it's like, hey. I said, okay, hello, and he said, yeah, I saw where you live. It's a nice place. I said, thanks for telling. What else? He said, that's it. I said,
Or
yeah,
dude, when you get straight, it's like also again strangers like on a post, they go,
yeah,
I'm proud of you.
yeah,
I'm like, thanks, Dad. Like the guy doesn't know you at all. It's like, I'm proud of you. Well done. It's
yeah.
like, cheers, thanks a lot.
And there are people, sometimes they start telling their story. I mean, I understand that they want to share it, but maybe that's, first of all, I'm not the guy, and second, this is not the platform. So they're like, okay, I have been struggling a lot, and there were things happening here and there, and I don't know how to proceed. It's something that, with due respect, that's something that a counselor can do. I cannot help you with that.
Oh, you mean real personal
Yeah,
stuff? Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay,
So
yeah,
that
yeah,
also happens a lot, and I mean,
yeah.
at that time you are just clueless how to respond, and obviously you have read it, so sometimes you have to, like, okay, maybe this guy really needs help, but how can I help? I cannot help you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
I have to say that I another disclaimer. I need to just tell everybody that I do also always try my best to respond to everybody if you're not going hello, or shit like I see where you stay, it's nice, which
Yeah.
is pretty fucking weird. But and especially if I see there's like kids from South Africa, I always try and respond, and but then it does. You also get, I don't know if you get this at all, but it's like before there's introductions or anything, it's bullshit sketch sending you a bunch of like really bad sketches
Yeah.
first, and then I want to sell this to you, and then it's sob story afterwards, and it's like, first of all, you haven't even introduced yourself. It's like, and second of all, it doesn't work like this.
Yeah.
And even if it did, I'm not a venture capitalist that is looking to buy a bunch of like sketches,
Once that reminds me of the sketch thing. I got a sketch from a random guy, and it was like a little doodle on a newspaper, and that was dirty. Like there was oil stains on the newspaper. It really looked like even like a fresh. It was not even a fresh newspaper. It was a used trashy newspaper, and there was a sketch, and the next line was, "I want to build my own brand of cars. Would you be interested in working with me?" I said, okay, now I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to indulge because first you are showing me a sketch which I cannot even see. Second, I don't know you. And the funny thing was, I checked the profile. This guy doesn't even follow me. Okay, he doesn't know me. He just randomly opened my account. I think he just sent me a message. And he was working, I don't know, he was a dance teacher or something. He was not even, he was asking me design questions, and he was asking me things about design, but he was not even from design background. I mean, clearly with no relation, nothing. It looked like someone took the phone and just wrote a message like, okay, good luck with that. I mean, if you build a brand and if you pay well, let me know. I know people who would love to work. So yeah, it's
Dude, I think as well, like, if like one step on from that as well. Again, if people get seduced by sketches and renderings, and even like digital models and whatnot, there's like building a car and a business out of like manufacturing cars, even if it's at a low scale volume,
yeah,
is like, that's a whole nother ball game. Like this is something that so many companies and people get seduced into wasting a lot of money
exactly.
in chasing that dream. And especially if you can show a physical model, you'll get people to sell their children for that, because they even like grown men, like really smart guys, will just be like, yes, let's build this, let's make it. How much money do you want? And totally oblivious to what it actually costs to manufacture these things.
Exactly. Like it's, I don't know. I mean, like these are bizarre requests. Like, yeah, I want to build a brand and I can sketch. And some people are furious on that. Like some just write message, okay, I can sketch. I'm so good. I don't know why people are not giving me like, I'm not getting job. I'm not getting internship. I said, maybe this is the reason. Maybe you're so impulsive and you're not a lot of things, just that what you see has a lot of backstory. If you look at some sketch, or if you look at some person who is a designer, or who's a head of design, you have to learn, you have to know about them, how they did that. And there's legit study. It's not like someone just woke up, he can sketch well and he can be a designer. So there's a legit study. Then there are internships, and then they work for years and years, and then they get to do this. A lot of people, they don't know that when you go to a design company, you're not, sometimes you don't even get a project. You just have to, for months and months, you just make a side mirror. You make a little door handle, which is not even, which you don't even know that they are going to take it or just thrash it or throw it. That's only for you to get in. And then there's,
Which, by the way, you should, even if it is just a fucking door mirror or just a door handle, you should make that as fucking good as it possibly can be. And if it's your first thing that you're ever working on, you should be fucking grateful that you are able to do that in the first place. That you are one of the people that are in that has made the grade in to be in that company that is the one at that desk sketch that you're getting paid
yeah.
to fucking draw and to work stuff out. I mean, that's a, I know people, I just, yeah, that sense of entitlement of like, why am I not doing a fucking sports car?
Yeah.
I mean, it's unforgivable, really.
Yeah.
I feel really strongly about that.
This is this is like everyone's dream. I mean, everyone want to design a sports car. First of all, you don't design a sports car on the first day of your job. Second, even if you do, you cannot design it completely on your own. There's a team of probably 200 people working with you. There's a team of 100 people who are sitting in Stuttgart just sketching spokes. So it's a tough battle, and you still have to fight. You cannot be. I mean, what I have experienced is like, even when you're a designer, you have to keep showing your metal. You have to keep drilling. You cannot be consistent. You cannot, stay in the same position, because things are changing very rapidly. And since from last few years, I think it's skill wise, there's a lot of things happening. People are learning via online courses. There are teachers who are teaching from, from one country to students who are sitting in another country. There are a lot of resources, so there's only one way to do it, is just to absorb and start grilling and research. That's one, and that's the main point which I keep telling to everyone, whoever asks me questions. I ask them that do a research. I think you'll get the answer. And that's what I mean, it's a funny thing, because I was talking to one of my friend and I mentioned that, in social media, you don't have to have any eligibility to make an account, and to ask questions or anything. So if given a choice, I would make some sort of plugin that if you want to ask anyone anything, or if you want to comment on anything, there will be a 3-question series that you have to do. And if you do that correctly, then only you are allowed to do that. That ensures that you have a little bit knowledge about the topic you are trying to express something. Or if you're writing something, you have a prior knowledge. A lot of people, they don't have, and that's the issue. So if you have these 3 questions, maybe objective type, not difficult. So do you know this? Like, if they ask you, okay, I don't like XYZ car. Okay, first of all, what brand this car belongs to? Second, do you know who designed it? Third, do you know when it was designed? And if you do that, okay, then you're eligible. You can ask questions.
Yeah. There was a comment on one of the again on one of, I say my posts. It wasn't my. It was one of Martin Longmore's Z3 concepts, and some young guy was like, "Oh yeah, this is terrible," or something like that. And I was like, "Dude, do you understand what this is?
Yeah.
Like the time, the period in time, the fact that this wasn't the final design, the fact that this was a stage in the process, like all of the stuff. Like, this is just you can't. I think, back to your point, you can't even indulge that. There was a part of me that wanted to punch him, and obviously you can't do that. And then your natural reaction is to try and, like, swear at him or educate, and you can't even get into it. It's pointless. You just, there's a really good saying, like, and I don't know if it was one of the famous inventors, but I'm going to admit that it's not my saying, but it's like, you can't beat, don't argue with stupid people because they will beat you with experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so true. And obviously, there's the whole trolling aspect as well, where people are just looking for engagement, and you shouldn't indulge those people.
There's a similar saying which my father used to tell me, that don't argue with fools, because what they are going to do is to pull you down to their level, and you cannot beat them at their level because they are the best. So don't do that. So
yeah, it's very true.
It's tricky.